by the year 2010, the newspaper is history. It simply will not exist.
I believe any prediction of the death of newspapers is highly exaggerated.
Newspapers are dead. Newspapers are dead. Newspapers are dead.
A traditional newsroom where teams of reporters, sub-editors and editors are deciding and shaping the news you will read in your morning paper. But that news delivery system is changing. Here in this quiet suburban street in Wellington, the news delivery service of the future is already up and running. Newsroom.co.nz's website. Cyber journalists at work. Here they receive raw information in the form of press releases and feed them back onto the internet.
Up there, could you put it up for me? Okay, no problem. Suddenly you have people all around the world who are capable of actually logging in and looking at this stuff without any restrictions, without having to subscribe to anything, without having to physically, go out and buy something. The newspaper delivers you current, up-to-date information, or claims to. Now, so people go to the newspaper for that information. Now, it's like the record. The old record, vinyl record, was a mechanism of delivering music. Then along came this space-age thing called the CD. And then suddenly, everybody started buying CDs, and the record was gone. The record player was gone. And I think that it's that sort of example is what we're seeing here. The newspaper delivers information, and it will only ever be replaced if you can find a more efficient and better way of doing it.
Newspapers are dead. Newspapers are dead. Newspapers are dead.
It's very easy for us to put all our newspapers on the internet, but it's very, very hard to make any money out of it. And that is still the problem facing publishers worldwide, is how do you make money out of the internet? Very few people are. Maybe nobody is.
The gong means Newsroom is making money. They receive press releases via email, monitor other media, then sell their product to internet providers.
The gong goes off, you hit on the mail thing, you go into the editor, you get the press release.
Here Peter is taking a press release from the Labour Party and processing it before publishing it on the internet. Once there, web surfers will have the choice between the unedited raw information and later on the same copy with a traditional journalistic spin.
You select politics, you select press release, and then you come down to the publish button, you hit publish, and there it is, 14:39 p.m. Controversial drug rehab unit continues to amaze. It's taken us about a minute to get it up. Meanwhile, it's still trying to churn its way into the fax system.
Newspapers are dead.
You'll find all the government and opposition press releases on Newsroom's webpage. For one of the newest political parties like ACT, this is another way of getting their message out to the masses fast.
Good, okay. ACT really needs to get its information out as soon as possible. Timeliness is everything, particularly when you're wanting to react to news stories, and also when you're proactive and you want to get your message out there. So Newsroom is really good for that because it's instant. The moment you've written up your release, you can file it through to Newsroom, and it's instantly there on the net for people to go and look at.
Contrast the speed of publishing on the net with the day or so it takes for newspapers to be compiled and printed. Most morning papers have yesterday's news today, but they remain a money spinner. Most of the evening papers in the main centres are gone, but many of the newspapers that remain are putting on circulation. Independent newspapers are part of media magnate Rupert Murdoch's world empire and a major player here. They're not scared of the internet. In fact, they believe there's room for the two of them.
Initially, when the internet took off, we were all fearful of it because people were predicting that there would be this mass transfer of allegiance. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think perhaps young, technology-minded people who have got a lot of time will search the web and look for their news that way. But the average person hasn't got the time, is not particularly computer-oriented, and finds the daily newspaper printed on paper much easier to deal with. So I think now it might be more complementary than we first realised.
And what about when those young people grow up?
Well, they'll probably become like all old people and read newspapers.
The first Dominion came off the press in 1907. Newspapers have been delivering the news on printed paper for hundreds of years, but you can now find them on the internet. The paper that brought President Nixon down is now online. But credibility is something that's hard to find on a crowded information superhighway.
People have to know that the information is genuine, and that's the problem, I suppose, if you're browsing the web at the moment. You can come across a vast array of information and you're not sure where it's from. And I think we'll have a head start there because we've been investing for 100 years in our mastheads, and they do have credibility. And everybody knows that. Everybody's looking towards newspaper publishers as a content provider. And I mean, hardly a week goes by without somebody wanting access to our content, because we are seen as the natural provider of content.
If you're a known, established journalist and you transfer your work to the internet, as long as you have that track record, I think that people can believe that it is you. I think if somebody just pops up and says, "Hi, I'm a journalist, and this is all true, and UFOs are going to take over the planet," that they won't stand much of a chance if they can't prove that they actually have done it before and know what they're doing.
And while cyber journalists may herald the death of print, a quick look at the bestsellers list tells another story. There, next to the Edmonds Cookbook and the John Grishams, are, you guessed it, books on computers. And while cyber gurus may talk of a future without the printed page, they are in effect shooting their own messenger in the foot.